Hello, hello, hello. How
How are you doing?
I'm good. Satori is not here yet. No, okay. I'm good, all good. I'm just coming from the Steward session. Um, yeah, and reorienting. So how do we want to host this session? Like you have put most of the things into the agenda. I just added something that was on the heart of Satori about this infinite play, but if he's not here yet, maybe we can just start how you planned it with. So please go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I wasn't actually like I didn't mean to like plan it. I just wanted to insert some questions that I had that I wanted feedback
Perfect.
on the group.
So that's one thing I just want to encourage really. If when you put things, so it's a really real invitation to put things on the agenda, and also and if you have, then also please host through the session, and I'm here to help as much as I can. So, and with that, basically, please, Nick.
All right. Well, the first question that I just wanted to ask is like, how's everyone feeling? Sorry, you can hear my brother in the background. Yeah, how's everyone feeling? Because I know that we had a bunch of new people joining last week. I'm currently working on improving the onboarding to Omega. So I guess I just wanted to gauge, like, um, even if you weren't new last week, like, and you've been here a while, like, how are you feeling? How can we better support you in your journey of being part of the Omega working group? So then we can uh like use that information, I guess, in improving the experience. Who would like to share?
Hi Nick. I've been a bit busy last week, so I didn't have so much time to look into everything. I don't know if I'm the person that can help with like onboarding or guiding new persons because I feel I lack a lot of inner knowledge. I'll try to read up. So I read the document that was sent, I guess, yesterday. And basically, yeah, it would be nice to have a bit like a starting point from where I can read into things because it's a bit like I don't really know where to start reading from.
If I'd be, I'd be happy to point you the right way. You can send me a DM and we can schedule one-on-one, and I
Okay.
can help you find your way. That's my job as a guide over here.
Okay, thanks. I'll do that.
Manu, would you be open to also becoming like an Omega guide then, perhaps, for like future newcomers or people who are currently here who would like some more guidance? Durgadas said yes. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in that.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm being knighted as a guide of Omega, I shall accept. And I'm already being a guide for Communitas, so it makes sense. There will be some things that are overlapping, so it won't take as much of my time if I'm already using part of my bandwidth. Um, Something that is very interesting that I'm looking into is Bankless DAO. Um, we're building out a partnership between our two DAOs, and they have talent guides, which is something that we've been on and on and on discussing about. People can't find their way around. I mean, sure, they get onboarded, they get explain everything, but what about the more uh, intimate or personal type of, okay, what are your skills? What's your expertise? Where do you feel most comfortable contributing? So that part of very tailored approach, they have an actual role for it, which is called talent guide. So I'm gonna be attending one of their calls to see how that is, how they function, and looking to emulate that for our DAO. So that's something maybe not as relevant to Omega, but it is relevant to our collective community.
No, that sounds amazing because I think it aligns exactly with like what I will be like presenting for this goal in order to gather feedback. I think it will be really helpful, the information you gather for that. So yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
Who would like to go next and sharing like how they're feeling, if they need help with anything? Any feedback so far on what's happened the past week?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just arrived, but I'm happy to do that if it makes sense. Yes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, I was just I wanted to tell you that I'm applying for a Gitcoin grant through the kernel process regarding the dynamic energy budget, and maybe I wanted to write in the, as Sebnem suggested me to write in the text channel, who from the group who is part of kernel and others would be. I mean, if you can tell me if I can mention you or involve you in some ways for this application. And the other thing that I'm so excited about. What I found through Edouard Glissant philosophy, and I think that and his way of talking about being in relation, and I think that it's a huge inspiration and help to dig into the dynamic energy budget framework.
Thank you. Jean, can I ask a second question? So you are definitely a newcomer as well. And you coming in, I don't know, it's the second or third time?
Yeah, the second time. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know.
No. I just wanted to point out like how I really appreciate you taking initiative, bringing something that will be of use and we can experiment with, and then also coming in with more opportunities to engage. Would you like to share what helped you or what enables you to do it, or if it's just your nature, also it's okay to point that out as well. I just want to, because Nick is asking for the experience of newcomers, and you seem to be one who just hits the ground running. Could you share a bit more, if that's okay? I mean, I don't want to put you
to share a bit more about what exactly.
Yeah, like how you experienced now becoming or being part or contributing to Omega from not knowing about it to figuring out what it is and then figuring your way.
Yes. Okay. So what I can say that the first time I came, when I presented and I was listening to you, and it was a bit hard for me to understand what was going on, but I really was very, very touched. I really felt that this is a space where I can learn a lot, and I really love the mix of software thinking and ethics and philosophy. So I feel that I'm resonating with that, and also I really try to be as open as possible to software thinking and try to get to understand better, even if I'm not a computer scientist myself. And so I'm really happy with that. And this, but I mean, Sebnem, you were really the the medium for for translating this idea of dynamic energy budget. And so if for you it's okay, I was through my kernel process, I was figuring out how to present this project in the best way. And now my proposition to you all and whoever wants is that since I come from art and science myself, and the project was about how we can have an economic system for art and science collaboration, actually, I think that we'd better have a generative way of thinking. Then we would focus on experimenting as a serious and artistic project in the same times about this dynamic energy budget, and maybe token, or tentative to be a token. And this would be the first art and science project of this future, whatever, organization, group, platform, I don't know. And by its own development and flourishment, it will feed up the next stage. And so for me, so this is my proposal. And also, maybe not tonight, but when you want, I'm really happy to. I did 2 slides today, but it's so hard to get the thought of one philosopher or 2 or 3 now, of long lifelong work. Also, I mean, I've been reading them a while ago, but so I'd really be happy to present more from these slides if you're interested.
Please share in the chat. I think everyone will engage. Or maybe we can make time next time or so. But please feel free to change. I think it's better to share and people engage with it.
Yes. So I did 2
thank
slides.
you.
I did 2 slides on the.
Okay.
But they need to be developed. Okay, so I will share more.
Okay, no worries. Always share work in progress. That's really fine. That's why you want to get feedback on. So may I pass maybe to Unipath? You are not quite new. How is your experience as a newcomer? Can you give a bit more feedback that we can improve?
Yeah. So I'd say my personal kind of how you say, not what's the right word, concern is that I don't have enough time. Like, I really like what is happening here, and I wish I had more time to give to this, but I don't have it. And I've been considering even having less sleep to find time not only for this, but for all the stuff that I care about, because there are so many. But I was considering if maybe a buddy system might work better for me, because I think that these kind of discussions are always very fruitful, but they end up being too short. Like 1 hour might not be enough for the richness of the issues that we are discussing here. And text discussions can get very tiresome if they keep on going, and it is not that easy to parse them, especially if your work is still in writing and reading text the rest of the day. So I was wondering if that is possible, to have more one-on-one discussions, and maybe keep on continuing the discussions that are happening here beyond the usual schedule, stuff like that.
I wonder if we could use the one, two, for all structure in that regard. Like you pair up with someone, you talk about
Mhm.
anything really, and then you make notes on it, and then you share that to the group. So you can go as deep as you'd like, and then others can learn from your discussion as well.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay.
And also how we can. So the time issue, as you say, is one thing. I would add to that. How can we get creative about our initiatives and work to be done around initiatives, and actually parsing them or seeing them as opportunities to learn from each other, or get into subjects that are important, but we may not, um not be fully into it yet. So that body system I'm picking up, and definitely how can we make this part of the work, but actually as a body system or this one for all, for discussing, because I think the topics that we are choosing as work and as initiatives are the topics that drive us. So that's just some thoughts to that. If you could try and mint time through being more creative and tying this work, that would be something I would love to look into as well. Who else? Who's new? Justin, are you going to talk today?
Hello, Seb.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I spend most of my time kind of confused, and so that's why I don't want to talk too much. But as I'm kind of feeling it out, well, I mean, I can say that the proposal the other day really helped because that was kind of like a roadmap for me now. I've been just sitting in this stew, not really knowing what vegetable I am. And now that I see the proposal, I kind of, since then, I've been reflecting on how I might fit in if I do. And so that's been interesting to me, how I think I'm so burnt out that I could sit here around this fire and that's good enough. And I think that's maybe what I need to say. Look out for all of us that are just so tired and be ready to point us in a good direction. A buddy system could help with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share.
Actually, my friend Andrea, who joined us recently, kind of said the same thing. She mentioned that since she's new, it would have been more helpful to like get more guidance and kind of just be told what to do in order to make sense of things, because they're just so used to being told what to do. I guess like working in a DAO is new, so that's something to consider. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, this is exactly like it. DAOs are more about initiative, I feel. Um, I don't know if it's because people are too busy, like doing their own thing, and there's a lot of people coming in, and we don't even know which ones are the ones who will stay. So the ones who show initiative are the ones who rise up the ranks in an organic way, not in a hierarchical way. It's just about how much you put in, that's what you get out. So, again, if you're feeling confused, if you don't know where to start, you're feeling overwhelmed, that's what I'm here for. That's what other guys are here for. So, send me a DM and I'll help you. I'll share some references with you. I'll explain, etc. So, don't be try to not feel powerless against the complexity that we're facing, but realize that there are tools for you to rise above that and find your way within this DAO. It's just a matter of putting a little bit of initiative and being at the right place at the right time. If you're here, it's the right place at the right time because I'm a guide and I'm offering my help. So happy to help. And
Super cool. Thanks, man. Yeah.
I have some thoughts on the concealing sorority. Again, I don't know if this is the right time to voice them out or if we ought to remain within the scope of this conversation.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, I shall. Yeah, so again, this came about by talking with some work stream lead from Bankless, and they are doing a multimodal book. The topic will be like an introduction to Polygon, layer 2 solution. And so I immediately liked it. So multimodal, it's basically they're not just depending on writing an article and having people understand that, but they're realizing that people learn in different ways. So they're creating a document in EPUB format or like a digital book. But within that digital book, there'll be images, GIFs, videos, um, URLs to a website or to a Twitter thread. And so it's more like a multidimensional way of understanding things using many of the resources that we have available and not just an article. And I thought that was so refreshing. And I wanted to see if we could, maybe not for V1 of Consilience. I realized that like these things take time, but maybe for V2 or V3 later on down the road, we might want to incorporate some other types of formats. I know that this is the way, this is something that, so like content creation is moving that direction, being multimodal. And so I think we're keeping up with the wave by doing this. It's just a thought. I wanted to consult with the community and see if there's any traction so that I can start thinking about, given that I'm right now curating for
Definitely.
one article. Okay, cool.
Have you seen what Satori is sharing and what communities from Imaginarium? They literally are putting together their notes in form of poetry or in form of lyrics and mash it with music, so it's also generative. It's not, and I think it is amazing that we have these contributors now in Omega. So definitely we should make I think that will be an outlet for this new type of energy that has come in. So I'm also looking forward to that. And yes, definitely multimedia, but I'm also looking forward for actual for this generative content that I see coming. I don't know, Steph, Satori wanted to reach out to you with respect to that type of work. Did you have a chance yet or not yet?
I had a crazy busy week at my day job.
Yeah.
I haven't received any messages, I guess. So yeah, maybe I should get in touch with him or something to talk about it. What Manu is saying, I really like the idea of a multimedia EPUB. So to create some kind of form which has kind of the status of a book or could level up to some kind of academic kind of insight. But then on the other side also allows for a kind of the only risk I see it might turn easily to a kind of Tumblr experience, that it's this kind of endless flux of information, which then it becomes very difficult to
I
navigate.
thought.
So it's a matter of finding a balance between those.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, please go.
I thought it would be more suitable for the library, like not starting something new. another initiative, but actually making use of multimedia in the consilience library, also actual, the consilience thing happening, and the result of it is a multimedia representation of an insight. I think that's the kind of stuff I see coming from the school.
Yeah, that would be really great. Like the only tool that I think that I can work with technically is this kind of StackBit type of websites. I can look into how to build like EPUBs, but I have like an old version of InDesign, so it might be a bit complicated. But then, yeah, for sure, there's also other tools or techniques to make something that is easily accessible, because if we put a lot of media, it might slow down like the loading time, especially persons on phones or on mobile connections. So it's finding a kind of balance between not too heavy files and not too much media weight on a single page. And at the same time also kind of having enough media available to combine things. So I'm interested in building this, but I will need some help. I'll just throw out examples.
By
But
the way, I'm a web designer, so if we're talking about that, then
yeah,
yeah,
great.
I have hosting and I have everything, and so
Okay, cool.
Super cool.
And also like to add that, well, first of all, is the Consilience library gonna be hosted in Notion, or is it gonna go to another website, more?
Yeah, like I had one idea about it, but I think that is just I wanted to build an example version of it. So just to see as a sample how it looks like on a StackBit website, which then is hosted through GitHub and deployed through Netlify. But if Durgadas has like an idea of building it on a local server, then I'm not so
that right
familiar.
there is a completely different thing than the way I don't know why you do all that. So the
Because it's
question,
cheap and fast.
I'm sorry.
Because it's cheap and fast, you only need to pay for a domain name, and all the hosting is decent. Like you don't need to pay any hosting servers. Or...
Oh, okay. Well, I have hosting, so
Okay.
that's not an issue. Also, what I'm asking is, do we? I'm trying to not get us into technical debt. You know what I mean? And then also, we've got a bunch of website redesign initiatives currently happening in the Token Engineering Commons, so it would make more sense to leverage that existing effort. So I might suggest that if that's something you need, you should probably talk to comms, and figure out where perhaps we can, connect with that. I'm also involved in that effort, so that's part of the reason why I'm making that suggestion.
Okay, that
I think
sounds
what
reasonable.
Unipuff was ask is like
I came from a different standpoint. Well, that's another concern. That's an issue for another time. I was just I wanted to basically say that Notion is very customizable, and you can basically embed any other website in there, in Notion itself. So you can do various multimedia stuff in Notion. So that's good. But in terms of its Web3 integration and the data collection that's happening, yeah, that's another issue. Yeah, Notion is not the best place to go.
So Notion is really just also for let's note it again. Notion is really for us to prototype, like how do we want this to look and feel. And also next week, Nick, I don't know if that's possible, but if we can use also next week to really talk about this living library experience that has been going around. And again, it could be a connection to this buddy system. but I think in order for us to develop these ideas, like how is it going to feel and experience this library, this whole multimedia, uh, as well as, you know, how do we go through the curations, and if I see a curation done by some group or someone, can I reach out to them? How how would that experience be? Can we connect to the library some live learning events that are happening, so that if I'm interested in a topic and I'm just reading through that curation, I also see that there is currently I don't know, the token engineering 360 going on, and there is the topics of ethics. Like that type of living library, how would that feel? So the notion is really just get our hands dirty, put things together, get the seed curators or the curations. You know, we learn through the proposal, you know, how we want those creations to be, you know, stuff like this. I think it's more important that we focus on phase one on that and get that right. And then we have the nice specification of what we know, how we want this to be implemented. And the second phase would be definitely to move away from Notion. So we need to find a balance, not to put everything into this first phase, but to look into what are the important things that we want to figure out around this token engineering consilience library. And I think the look and feel of it literally, and how much information can be threaded, is the big question. So yeah, Notion just a prototype, and the most important parts. Initially, it was just how do we structure this thing, this beast? We don't know what it is, and then coming to a proposal that is now live was the first challenge we took by improvising, and I believe almost entirely asynchronously. So big kudos to everyone involved. And yeah, and if, for example, next week we can move further into the living library experience, how can we make this to you know, not just be a passive consumption, but you know, how do people interact with it? Again, that's a big part of also input that will go into phase two. How will this, you know, library sustain itself, both in terms of incoming knowledge as well as incoming revenues, and things like that, because everyone involved feels that it could be a self-sustaining product of the community. So that's another interesting point that needs some thought put into before we move into how do we implement this technically. I think if we have figured those bigger questions out, then the implementation and the specification will become much easier. Of course, it comes with all of the creative issues that the techies then have to take on. Yeah, but one challenge after the other. So if
Well, I
you're
have
interested,
processes for all of that, by the way, because that's all marketing communications stuff, you know. So
yeah,
Can you share them?
but mhm.
I would like to know more about these processes because I don't really know where to find those or how they can be accessed.
What processes?
You can access them by talking to Durgadas as your
you can talk
Omega
to me.
guide.
Okay, cool. Then let's have a
And
talk.
also, yeah, I just and also I want to yeah, like next week is a possibility to bring it on and discuss and make it make it not feel like a product in its business as usual sense, but a commons public good, I should have said, right? So just a pointer. But yeah, definitely marketing, how can we make that just happen magically? That's my huge question.
Yeah. Well, if you,
And
I
can that
mean, if
not
you,
just take care of itself?
If you want me to show you an example, I can. So
Next
uh,
week,
okay,
come
that's
with
fine.
it next week, and then
Yeah, I
let's
have
also
it.
really look into how can we make this part of the process.
Well, like I
Because
said,
that's a big thing.
I feel like
Mhm.
involving comms would be really helpful in this sense.
Cool.
Because
Cool.
we're
Mhm.
basically, I think, doing what I'm going to suggest for you guys. Uh, within comms as a whole, and for the websites and other things. So I have a little more context around that stuff.
That's right. That we don't have to reinvent things that are already working. That's super important. Thank you, Durganas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll have to pay for hosting or any of that stuff, because that's all going to be handled within the Token Engineering Commons, and we should be able to participate with like a subdomain or some kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that'll be an issue. I would say moving to like everything decentralized on Web3 storage or whatever should be like a phase 3 thing. Do you know what I mean? Phase 1 is always figure out who you're talking to, figure out what you want to say to them, do an inventory, and then phase 2 is what's the first part of what you're trying to achieve, and the phase 3 is your ideal. So. There's also, by the way, an liberating structure that helps with this called what, so what, now what. Just because I'm trying to deal with liberating structures more these days, and so it's a way of sort of retrospectively figuring out what you have going on, which more or less follows the identical um, 3-part section thing that I just talked about. So just FYI.
Would you like to lead the next session using that structure?
I feel like
And
we should see if
or
Jeremy can come and do that for us, because he's a professional at that. I'm just trying to make a suggestion, and but the methodology is not the same as how to run a meeting. Do you know what I'm saying? So the way that I have to inventory the thing is not like a good way to run a meeting. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but liberating structures are a good way to run a meeting. So my methodology is not how to do this inside of a meeting. It's, hey, let's everybody in the meeting focus on this thing. Do you know what I mean? I'm just pointing out that there are a lot of parallels between the methodology that I'm recommending and that particular liberating structure meeting thing. So I'm trying to encourage people to use liberating structures where possible. I just want you to know where it fits. I would be willing to lead the meeting in my methodology, just not with the liberating structure as part of it. So if you want to do the liberating structure thing, that's a separate kind of a thing. But
okay, can you share before, so people are prepared, how we can make it work with, the task would be, or the topic of next week would be the consciousness library, and how is this whole experience of populating it, using it, and so on, be both the engagement and learning experience, and even something like a body system that can evolve, as well as its own marketing and outreach process.
those are kind of two separate questions to me. So if we use a buddy system to I think we need an overarching view on what it is, or who it is we're talking to across the top, and then what it is we want to say to them, and then mapping content is the reason why we do it like that. So I have a spreadsheet with the who's on top, the what's down the side, and then you have you put basically X's in where that stuff works, or you can write in like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But that isn't. I think once you know that as an overall group, then you can then create teams to buddy up to get that work done. Do you know what I'm saying? That's, I think, the best way to do it.
Would you like to like add it onto the agenda? Your thoughts around this?
Hmm.
Okay, cool. That would be awesome.
Sorry, are you doing that now, or do I need to do it?
Would you mind doing it like maybe when you have time,
Okay.
so that
So let me see if I can.
people can see your ideas prior to next week's call?
I mean, yeah, I've only presented this about 10 other times in the token engineering comments, so I this is just the same thing as all the other times. So it's my standard sort of marketing communications modality. So I don't have anything prepared to like show people in advance what it's all about, other than to just say, look,
Yeah, it would
you'll
be
learn
nice to
something.
have like a written version because I really don't have so much time to like have a lot of meetings. But if there's like things that I can read into that I get an insight in how you think, how you work, because like reading this other document from 2 days ago, there's one thing I guess it was somewhere in the comments that struck me that was like, okay, I understand this thing with like boiling up to a pyramid, this kind of like trickle down or trickle up thing, but then, or a meritocracy. But what I thought, which could be kind of also very interesting, that I read somewhere, I guess, was about this. How about like asking a person like what do they want instead of developing something like top down? So really thinking as a commons, a collective way of thinking implies also kind of not assuming that the organization or the best way of doing things exists, but really
Mm-hmm.
keeping it on a kind of person to person level of, hey, what do you actually want, or how can it exist for you in a kind of singular section, which is a very difficult thing to do on an organizational level. But there I think I see there is a difference in what most other startups, or even if they're called commons, mostly they're working in a kind of yeah, like how older businesses work, you know. So I saw something that could be something that actually makes a difference.
So
Mm,
what we're
yeah.
talking about here is
And
not a
think
government
about,
constraint; it's an enabling constraint. So I just, you know, I
yeah,
get it. I get that, but this is my own method that I've cooked down from 12 years of marketing experience. So if you want me to write it out, I don't have time for that. So I'm sorry. So I mean, I've presented in a bunch of places. There's probably videos you could watch of
but
me
how can
talking
people
about it.
make use
But
of it? Yeah, but how can make
I
people
will
use of
be
it? That's
showing
the
people how
that's
to make use of it. That's
okay.
literally the
So next
point
week.
of the
And
thing.
may I suggest, yeah, we might think about commons, but actually we do have a commons here, the library, and it has the potential to be built up from any site you start with it, right? And we focus on the library. It's a common pool resource for the token engineers, by token engineers, or by anyone, any group who comes up with transdisciplinary creation of token engineering knowledge that focuses on the consilience, on finding unity in this wide spectrum of the 8-dimensional space we have in token engineering or cryptoeconomics. So that is a commons. Okay, let's focus on how what you said. How are we going to create enabling constraints so people actually engage with it, use it, at the same time create it, not deplete it, and everything you want comments to be. Let's focus on the library and
Yeah, it's just a matter of what I'm
put it to
basically
work.
talking about. Yeah, what I'm basically talking about is just a methodology for capturing those things that you were just talking about, right? So there's a bunch of people who are going to have their own perspective about what the Consilience library is doing. My job is just to cook that down into something that's usable and easy to use, So that's what this is supposed to do.
And can you enable others to make use of the methodology? Or
Sure. I mean, everything I do
or
is kind of,
like the other way
done
around, it also
coaching.
works. The other way around, we just come next week with the library and what we think the library should be for us and for token engineering commons and for token engineering community. We come with those ideas and we will be sorted through. That's even better.
It's really it's like a
Cool.
it's like a process
cool.
that can help to surface all of this
Thank
content.
you.
So yeah, that's all that I'm sort of talking
Fantastic.
about.
Okay,
So
people,
we can
everyone,
use
think about what is the token engineering Consilience library to you. You don't have to reinvent. We've been working on it the past months. The proposal is up. Just refresh the next week. What is your vision of it? And we are going to have the sorting session. I think it's going to be really cool. Cool. We have 10 more minutes. Nick.
And by the way, I
what
can
do you
introduce any of that to any of you at any time. I always have it with me. It's well known. So
Thank you, Durgadas, for the offer.
So we have 10 more minutes. I just wanted to quickly ask, how was the Miro experience for everyone? Because we've been using it the past couple sessions. Was it confusing, hard to use?
I continuously struggle with Miro. I know I shouldn't, and I wish that I didn't, but I just don't like it. I don't like a lot of the tools, so I don't like Google Sheets. I don't Notion. I don't like Miro boards. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I
old.
thought you liked. I thought you like Google Docs, the whole Google Suite. You don't like it?
No, it's Google. It means every single thing that they do is not owned by us. Free is not free. We're the product. So
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you. But I mean, no comment, I guess.
Anyone else?
I enjoyed working on Miro quite a lot. Sometimes it's a bit slow on my old computer. If it's about doing design, maybe Figma. I guess that's a better option if you're really going into UXing or this kind of things. But yeah, it was very nice to work on Miro.
I don't think Figma is needed unless you're doing wireframing and other stuff, which I highly don't recommend. But it's a bit inefficient. I don't believe web design is a creative endeavor. It's just data inside blocks, and I don't think we're trying to do anything really creative here. This is all well-known stuff.
Okay.
Could we hold space for differing ideas around that? Because we do have creatives around here who believe otherwise, I think.
I would think so too. So the only comment with respect to Miro, I struggle definitely with Figma because it requires more knowledge. I believe so. It's really a designer's tool suite, right? but I'm happy to learn. So if people would want to go there, that's fine. Miro is for me just word kind of, putting post-its on it,
Yeah,
and for
I'm
that
just gonna
it just works.
I'm just gonna say that we can hold space for the fact that these other things are going to happen, but we would need to make different technology decisions than the ones that I would recommend if that's the case. So that there's a kind of a bifurcation in terms of what technology we choose to go that other route. So
Do you have alternative suggestions?
yeah, I mean, I'm giving you my professional advice at this point. So, you know, I I don't find it productive to be creative in the web space because you have a lot of conceptual things that you're trying to munge, and I have a process that helps with that. But the hard work is really in that; it's not in the creation of the website. So if you want my help to munge that stuff, and then you want somebody else to design a creative website that looks, with novel user interfaces or different things, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. So then I would just limit my involvement to the the munging of the stuff and the enabling constraints about getting your message across to people, and then you can present it to whatever designer you want. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying that if I'm doing both, then it's gonna you know change the technical way we deal with that. So I'm happy just to do the first part. So um, yeah, just be aware that there's a kind of
Okay,
choice
but
bifurcation.
maybe you're talking different things. So Miro about use there's facilitation
Yeah, I
sessions.
was just
If
following
if
up with
it's okay that we use Miro.
Ruby's comment. She was saying, can we hold space to have different things? And I'm following up with that. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is helpful. Because I'm trying to figure out how the onboarding thing's gonna work out, like in terms of like mapping the current initiatives. But if
Mhm.
Figma's not gonna work, then we'll have to come up with
Wait a
something
second.
else.
Wait a second. These are two different things, though. I mean, the one thing
Yeah.
is, people coming together and just figuring things out, and then making that thing that is figured out actually appealing. I think that those are two things. Like
Yeah.
what you showed right now, the summary of it, and that looks better, more beautiful than the brainstorming or the facilitated session uh, result in Miro, but then actually making it look like one thing is the collaborative or co-creation sessions that we have, and for that Miro just does the job because I think Figma is harder to navigate, but then we have then the results somehow that is not really appealing, and if newcomers really have to look at the Miro board, of course they're lost because they weren't part of the facilitated sessions, and even people in the facilitated sessions said, hey, I'm lost. So actually making a summary and making the result of those facilitated sessions visually more explaining, or yeah, that please use whatever tools you use Figma, please. But I don't think that people might be able to help, or people who can use Figma will be able to help. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Figma definitely is a tool that if you're having somebody do the website, that's not me. If you're going to do some other creative something that's not just the blockification of your data, it's not like it'll be ugly if I do it, but I'm just saying that if you want to do something entirely different than the way that I typically do it, then Figma is a great tool to figure that stuff out. So But I hope that the process that I'll lead you through will basically give you everything that you would need to make a website and have it be understood what you're doing and who you're talking to and how to map those two together.
Okay,
Can I
let's
just
see next week.
say that there's also Figdam, which is different than Figma for
Yeah, this is Figdam.
this is closer to Miro, and it's actually even more intuitive with even less interface clutter. So I mean, I think that this is what people were referring to when they were talking about using Figma.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I just wanted to gauge how everyone felt about like tools like these, because if it's just another tool you have to worry about, then I'm not going to introduce that for the onboarding process, because I think like using this board to kind of figure out like what and the projects, the interest happening mega, and then maybe to talk about it. So I'm going to connect myself to this because it gives me energy. Do you know what I mean? Like that's why I was considering exploring. But like if Figma is just like another tool that will just like exhaust you and will drain you to learn to use, then I'd rather not introduce that. And that's why I was asking how everyone felt about it first. So it's all good. No matter what you feel, it's really all good.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's something that I'm working with all day. So also like in multimedia stuff, it's a bit lighter for a computer, especially the FigJam. But I guess it's a matter of taste and style. So I don't know what to say.
I would say take the lead because you're leading the initiative or work, or you're making this effort, then you should use the tool that makes you most effective. And if you're offering people to, hey, this is how you put a post-it on, put your name on, and connect this like this. If that is all that people need to learn, then we will learn it. So